Hello, and welcome to Pathfinders podcast, where we explore the real stories behind extraordinary journeys. Each episode features entrepreneurs and leaders who dared to take a different path, overcame challenges, and build businesses and lives that create lasting impact. Today's story is about two unlikely founders, a mechanical engineer and a doctor, who walked away from successful careers, taught themselves the world of software, and went on to build a bootstrapped SaaS company from India, scaling it to around $20 million in ARR. One of those founders, Rajesh Sharma, is our guest today, a first generation entrepreneur and co founder of Prohance. Born and raised in Shimla, Rajesh graduated as a mechanical engineer from MNIT Jaipur and began his career with Hindustan Petroleum. After spending over 12 years in the oil and gas industry, he made a bold decision that few would have dared to take, leaving the security of a public sector career to start over as a software developer in the emerging IT industry. A few years later, he co-founded Jamoka Tech with Dr. Kishore Reddy, which went on to become Prohance. Rather than chasing venture capital or pursuing growth at any cost, they built the business patiently and profitably from Bangalore into a global SaaS company serving over 250 enterprise customers and generating around 20 million USD in annual recurring revenue. In 2023, this capital acquired a majority stake in Prohance, marking the beginning of its next phase of growth. Today, Rajesh mentors founders, supports the startup ecosystem, and is preparing to share the lessons from his journey in his upcoming book, The Impossible Startup. His story is one of reinvention, calculated risk, and proving that there is more than one way to build a successful global company. A very warm welcome, Rajesh, to our podcast today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Ashima, for having me on this. Really excited, look forward to this conversation, and happy to be connected with you and Success Alchemist.
Likewise, Rajesh. To begin with, what problem did you see that made you believe this was worth building a company around?
So, to tell you the truth, Ashima, we are not big believers of long term plans, not having that 3-year, 5-year plan. And really, what Reid Hoffman, the co founder of LinkedIn, said resonates very much. He says starting a company is like jumping off a cliff. And then on the way down, you figure out you build a plane. We just started the company without really knowing what we'll be doing. Me and my co-founder Kishore, we wanted to build a world-class product from India because India is not really known to build a lot of products. And back then when we started 2009, it was even less. Our angel investor Sudhir, who backed us, who was the owner and CEO of Network Solutions, he's also a believer of that. Just two things you need to know. Think of a name of a company because you have to register it and the date when you start, and we'll get started. And we asked him, is that all? He said, yeah, that's all. And next day, I resigned from my job and called Kishore and said, Kishore, I resigned. And Kishore said, why did you resign? I said, yeah, yesterday we discussed we're going to start and this was there. So he said, oh, you resigned. That means I also have to resign. I said, yeah, you also have to resign. So 2-3 days later, he resigned and this was in October 2008. So we put the date as January 2nd, 2009. What we had the confidence is that we'll figure out something to do in the product space. And we will go from there on. And that's what exactly happened. And that's how we started.
Wonderful. No plans, but just kept flowing and things kept moving. The path kept emerging. Beautiful.
True. Ultimately, product is all about building a solution to a problem which you perceive. And that's what we started. And we did initially 3-4 different products.
Mm.
And ultimately, one of them is what market showed us, the customers, the business showed us is this is what you have to really go ahead with.
So, what was the problem that finally resonated well with the customers?
Okay. So I'll tell you. See, the first product was something which we were very comfortable with. We were working in network solutions. So network monitoring, infrastructure monitoring was very comfort area. And there was a customer who said, there's a small problem. Can you solve that? So it got us going. We started with that. But then we realized this is not something we want to do. Two reasons. One, it was something we'd already done. So not really exciting. And we were behind in the game of the product. So it was not going to lead to anything long term. There were already big players, many products were already there. So second product was all about power management of VoIP phones and laptops, desktop. How do you reduce it? Because VoIP phones, organizations have thousands and they're always powered on, whether they're working, not, weekends, 365 days a year.
Right.
So we said we will build in certain rules which where it can automatically power on, power off when it's not using and save power energy for the organization, bring down those carbon things and all those things. And everybody said, great idea. And I'll tell you, we got awarded for this product by a magazine called Computer World in Washington. In 2011, both me and Kishore went to Washington. We got awarded. But what we found later on is that customers were willing to try it, but they were not willing to pay. We did 30, 40 pilots, but hardly anybody wanted to convert to a paying customer. And that's when we realized that things can look good on paper, people will be convinced, everybody will say the right things, but it was not such a great pressing problem, and there were certain other issues around it, because of which it did not lead to long term success. So while all this was happening, Prohance is the other idea which me and Kishore had, little bit from our earlier personal experiences. How do you get visibility on what people are doing? So we were also team managers, team leads, leading teams, but always you have that suspicion that the team is not really giving you what it should be. When you are not present around them, are they really working the way you should be? Right? You are gathering all the information manually, but still you feel that you don't have the real visibility or the real picture with you. The USP of Prohance is it automatically gives you information of what people are doing without people saying what they are doing, and then builds right nice visibility analytics and predictive analytics around it. And then we happen to meet few customers or few of our connects who were in the business world and told them this is what we're doing. There was one person who said, I'm running my own BPO. I'm sitting in one office I have. I had around 100 people. Now strength has gone to 200. I've hired another building nearby. But now I really don't know what's happening there. So he said, great. This is what we are really building to give a visibility to you on what's happening, irrespective of where you are sitting and where your people are working. Then there was another enterprise customer whom we knew, and he had a 50-member team. He tried the product. In fact, out of that, he created very nice reports, which we learned and built back into the product. And he went and gave a good report to the organization which was outsourcing work in US, and they were very happy and things went straight. So these few initial things told us we are on the right track. We got 2 customers, they became 5, 10 initially, maybe small customers, but it started really moving. And first time we really saw some success coming from the customer, and success is that getting those paid customers. And then we knew we are on the right track and learned the first lesson is market will teach you what works, what doesn't work.
Market is the king.
Market is the king, and a lot of issues come when you try it out on the field. UI UX issues get sorted out because the customers will use it in a very different way than you use it. And that makes your product more streamlined, more fine tuned to actual usage. And of course, the inputs start coming in on some features which you think are not that great. Suddenly, the customer finds it very good. So there's a constant learning from each customer, and what you learn from one customer, that is the story you tell to the next one. That hey, this is what one customer has seen. He's using it. Why don't you do it? And we've seen you will not be able to visualize how your product will be utilized by people in many different ways, right? So the your job is to get that initial version out in the place and then have that wisdom and foresight to learn from the market and quickly start scaling up your product and building around it.
Very true. So the initial few customers actually act like design partners because they are giving constant feedback. It's like a iterative process. So were there any challenges initially? If I ask you, the biggest challenge, was it building the product, convincing the customers, or was it about convincing yourself?
Hmm. For us, building the product was not never a big challenge. That's been our core strength. And even now, me and Kishore believe that building a solution is the easiest part. In my view, 20% is the product which goes out. 80% is where all the sales, marketing, convincing the customer is there. And like I said, convincing the customer is also two part. One is for them initially to try out your solution. That itself is one task. But after trying out, how do you ensure that they continue to use it? That will lead to your long-term success. So the the customer convincing is, I would say, the hardest part. And that's what the name of the game is. It's not about building product. It's not having a great solution. It's about how do you work with the customers and ensure that their success becomes your success. And of course, convincing yourself, that's the starting part. See, if you are not convinced, whether it's what idea you're building or you've started, I don't think you will be able to succeed, because startup is a high risk and high reward game. The number of success maybe is like 0.5%. So if 100 start, or maybe 1,000 companies start, maybe 4 or 5 only succeed. But if you are not convinced, then you are already starting with a handicap, because you have to persist, you have to fight against all odds. And if that belief is not coming from inside, you are going to, in a way, maybe give it up or not put your heart and soul into it, which is what is required initially. The people you are going to talk to will be looking at your body language, at your conviction. They may not be convinced about your idea, but they have to be convinced about who you are and what you're doing. And many times, Ashima, our product failed initially, and it typically happens, it will not work the way it should be working. But the customers persisted with us just because they saw the type of response we gave, how we were ensuring that we really came back to them and gave them the solution quickly. We didn't run away from it. So that's what convincing yourself is about. Convincing yourself runs as a, I would say, the
Is
on the
foundation.
framework on which everything is built. If you don't have that, the foundation is weak, then above it is going to really crumble somewhere or the other.
So looking back, Rajesh, what were a few key strategic decisions that fundamentally changed the trajectory of Prohance? Was there a customer conversation or a market signal that led to those decisions that triggered those shifts?
First was a mindset change in our mind around 1 or 2 years down the line, when we discovered that we have to be responsible for our success. It's not that somebody else will lead us to it. And I'll give you an example. Initially, like I said, we thought our job is to build a product, and we have enough connects, advisors, senior people who will get us the business around it. But the reality is, no business came. In fact, first year in the first product, we had a sister concern who said, we will do the sales and marketing of your product. You have to build it. And we and we agreed upon a target of that 1 crore would be the revenue we'll get. At the end of the 1 year, how much revenue we got? Zero. Absolutely zero we got. Same way in all the other customers. In fact, in Prohance, the second customer, when we were going to that customer, one of our advisors said, you will never get that customer. I've worked with them. They all say they want to do this, but they never pay and all that. But we got that customer. That is the day me and Kishore sat and said, hey, we have to stop believing others. We have to stop thinking that others are going to build our destiny. We have to be responsible for our success or failure, not somebody else. That is the first incident where we took charge of our destiny and we started moving ahead. So I think I would tell everybody, do not look at anybody else for your success. Start thinking that you are the only one who will lead to it, and that will make you think and do things differently. And other thing which we also did is we bootstrapped our company and we put our own money into it. And again, that brought a different level of ownership within us. Yeah. I remember our angel investor Sudhir coming and say, I know you guys, you don't need to put your money, your portion also, I'll put it and you can pay back later. But we both said, no, we want to put our own money. It doesn't matter. But we want to feel that it is our own, And that feeling will come when we put our own money into it and we don't mind it. That again brought a different level of thinking within us. So I believe bootstrapped companies think very differently from invested companies. One, innovation thrives in an environment of scarcity or constraint. It makes you think differently. How do you constantly think of different ways of finding a solution in the best possible manner with the least resources? See, I know there's a company who large company acquired a startup, but they never let that startup work from their office or mix with their employees, because they said, moment they come on our side, they'll become like us. So why big companies can't innovate and you need smaller startups to do it is because the thinking is very different. And the other thing what Bootstrapped lets you do is it gives you freedom to experiment and try out your own ideas. Nobody's questioning you. Why are you doing this? How much business will you get? Have you done a market study and all those things? And you need that flexibility, especially in the initial phases. I think you need it every time, but initially you need to try out that quickly 4 or 5 things and fail without somebody saying you've not done this or this is the way to do it, always questioning you and somewhere putting a maybe a doubt in your mind or putting some sort of obstacle in your way. So these two things, I think, led to our mindset for the long term success. And on other two incidents which happened is initially we did a great pilot for a large organization of Prohance, and we were really happy, the customer happy, and then the time came that how do we now convert the pilot into a paid production mode. And they called us to the office and then they said that we are going ahead with your competitor. And the reason is we like your product. It's far superior than the others. Your engagement, your service, far superior with us. And that person said, personally, I would go with you. But the thing is, in our organization, we have a rule that they will only use a solution or a product from another vendor if they are already servicing a very similar large enterprise like us. And even though your product service far superior to others, we have to go with their competitor because he already has a larger customer and you don't have. And that was, a very heartbreaking moment for us, that it's like you feel you already win the race and after that somebody comes and tells you, while you came first, you were far ahead of the others, but because of some reason you've been disqualified. So, and that's where we realized that there are certain things we have to take care from the business point of view. And that day we decided we will get a large enterprise customer on board at any cost. And with that, we went after a few customers and we got Sutherland as the next customer, large customer, 10,000 users. The money, the monetary aspect was not that great, but that changed our life. One, it got us a large enterprise customer and we could tell the world started looking at us differently, that you could work at a different level also. Also, our product initially did not really scale up to that level. So we had moved from 100 to 1,000 suddenly. And then we worked again overnight, 5, 7, 1 week, and changed few core pieces of our architecture and made it work. And from there on till now, we've scaled to far different levels. That time it was a 8 or 10,000 users. Now we have deployments which are going up to 70,000, 80,000 users. So one, from the business angle, it brought us took to a new level and changed our product also. So that was the second incident which, a failure taught us that something has to be done. And lastly, the other incident is, as you scale up, you have to go beyond your founders because you can do as much only, right? And most of the founders' strength is initially building the company and the solution. Scaling is a different product, and here is where you need to get specialists or people who are much more experienced in that field. And we've been lucky that our leadership team has mostly been built from our customer base, people who have tried our solution and services. And then they have come back to us and says, we want to be part of your organization because we see you're doing something very good and meaningful and it can become a really big thing. So can we become part of you? And here is where our current CEO, Ankur Dhingra, who's there, he came over from American Express, who were our customer that time. He personally rolled out our product, used it, was convinced, joined us initially as head of sales and marketing. And with his joining, our journey accelerated to a new level and we are here. So those are the few incidents which, truly changed the game for us. and took us, as we call it, to a different orbit each time.
Investing your own money was like, okay, my stakes are high. We have to make it happen. And then sales and marketing can be outsourced, but they don't understand your product that well as you understand. So just be ready to get your hands dirty and then getting the right team on board.
So
That's
getting the senior people is always a risk,
very true.
and that's where you want to make it happen right. So the value system of the senior person whom you're bringing needs to be very much aligned with you. That person need not be like you, not thinking, the temperament can be different, but the value system has to be aligned. And that's where if somebody who's already worked with you or seen your work or experienced what you've been doing, that person coming over and being part of your journey, the chances of success are much higher.
Very true. If you look at it from an employee's perspective, they will often perceive it as surveillance. So somebody is tracking me, I'm being monitored and tracked. How did you change that conversation from monitoring people to improving productivity and business outcomes? Could you see that there was some resistance initially, but then things started shifting?
No, what you said is very true. We were perceived largely, and still it happens that you are tracking, you are monitoring, and the reality is to collect data, you have to do this part. But we are not doing tracking or monitoring to track you. The intent of that is to bring a positive change in making you more effective and efficient at work. So, how do you change that narrative? Is all about engaging with the customers and making them engage with the employees and giving the message. We are not bringing in a tool like Prohance to track you or monitor you. The bigger picture is that we want to become more effective at work. We have made organizations who are working for 6 days a week start working 5 days a week and still do the same amount of work. We have a case study around it. We work like an extended team with them. We build their communication plan. We work with the employees and prepare facts on what Prohance does and what it will not do. And the other thing which we did is we built a lot of what we can say checks and balances in the product or features in the product which give control to the organization and the individual on what data you want to collect. I will tell you from my personal experience, no organization is interested in understanding what is the non-work you are doing or what is the things you're doing away from. They only want to know that are you doing the things which you should be doing at work. So the intent is not where all or what else are you doing. It is that are you doing what you should be doing in the best possible manner. So one, building in the product, so people have control over what data they want to collect. So suppose they are going to their personal banking site for certain personal transaction, they can turn off and say, I'm in a personal mode. I don't want it. It has got so much flexibility now that sometimes I think we've given too much flexibility. So people can customize it exactly to the level they want. In fact, they can have team A works in such a way. So team A's data is marked, team B is not masked, right?
Okay, at a
Or
team level, individual
yeah,
level.
team level, individual level, or in this country we'll deploy like that, in the other country we'll deploy like that. Customer engagement is what really brings a big difference, and that is what we focus from the very beginning. And we never charged anything for it. It's all part of the license cost.
The best practices around making customers successful.
So one is you have to make your product, integrated within the ecosystem of the organization. So while your product does something, how can you now have data flowing into it from other parts or other tools and from here to the other solutions and tools which they have, so that it becomes like a integral part of their product or their tool set ecosystem. And they are looking at data from a holistic angle. Second is over a period of time, you have to now move the narrative from time and activity to work, output, and outcomes. So start measuring your output and outcomes. And that is where we have other modules come into Prohance. And then start looking at, say, like quadrant analysis on some people doing more in less time, some people doing more in more, like some people doing less work because they're putting less effort. But there are people in less time, they are doing more because they are the bright ones, they have the best practices. So can they now start coaching people who are putting it more effort and giving you less output, right? Because the problem with then people is not that they are not motivated enough, but they don't know how to do it. So somewhere there's a will gap, somewhere there's a skill gap. So once you start measuring the outcome and the effort together, then you start getting a whole new visibility on what strategy you should apply to which area.
Very true. So this connects me to something what you said, the will and the skill. We have a tool in scaling up for talent assessment where we assess our talent in terms of their productivity and also of course their core values, how well the core values are imbibed in their day to day functioning. So having a set of players, A player, B player, C player, in terms of how they are doing, and then having a individual development plan for them. Okay, what's the next step, how can they move from B to the next level? So giving them also a roadmap for their career journey within the organization.
This is where I was giving an example of integration.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, this tool.
Yes.
Imagine the data from Prohance going into this tool and this tool becoming much more effective into what sort of a training or a coaching plan should be for each individual. Because now you're seeing how he's working. You have the work pattern of that person working, right?
Correct.
So your or this other tool now becomes much more intelligent just because we brought two tools together, which were doing a certain thing independently. It can be very fascinating because as a leader will understand their people so well, looking at their trends, their patterns, maybe some areas they do exceptionally well. So even knowing their strengths and then leveraging them on their on the best on where they do best basically, rather than putting them into something where they still struggle. And of course, there's a development plan on next set of things that they can be done. So the platform has evolved from measuring just employee productivity now to providing insights across employees, vendors, and now you even have AI agents. How has AI changed the way you think about workforce intelligence, and where do you see it evolving next? So yeah, the AI, the AI era or the age which has now come in the last couple of years has changed everything. And there was a phase where nobody knew what to do. They just wanted AI in the tool. But now we are seeing from our point of view, a lot of work is being done through agents using AI part. And hence to give uh, a complete picture of what work is happening in an organization, we not only have to tell what people are doing, we also have to tell them what the AI agents are doing. So now we are trying to bring into Prohance in the current year roadmap is how do we start measuring what AI is being used in an organization and what is the work being done by the digital agents in an organization, so that you can combine that entire thing and say the work was done in this way. This part was done by the human, this was part done by the by digitally by the agents, etc. And this is how the outcome has come. So that's the phase which we are going ahead from the AI point of view. What else we are bringing is bringing in a lot of AI insights into our reports. So we have a co-pilot now which explains to you what this report really means, what are the recommendations and insights which can come, something which was being done manually earlier. And then obviously the next thing which comes is that conversational AI. Now the way people look at reports or gather data is changing. I just want to ask a question, type a question, right? Don't show me what you already have. I need the flexibility. So now a manager can and tell me who are the top five employees in last week, or give me what are the learnings from last 1 month's data gathered. That's the other part of the AI is coming. Interesting thing which we brought in into Prohance is using the amount of information we have, can we predict people who are disengaged in your organization and then are at the risk of leaving the organization? So that means then attrition prediction analysis. So
Great.
you already have a learning that when people start working in a certain manner, that means the chances of that person leaving the organization are there. Can AI tell you in advance out of your 1,000, these are the 80, 100 which look like something is not right, they may leave. It's a game changer for the organization and the way organizations work. So, how does Prohance use Prohance internally? Do you guys? I'm sure you guys are using it. So, anything that your own product taught you about running your own business better? So Prohance running internally has been from day one, and it is one of the most important aspects of our organization. So we have to use it not just because it's a product.
Yeah.
First is we are also doing nothing different from any other organization. So we need visibility, insight into what our people are doing. That's the first thing. Second is all new releases first get rolled out internally. So it's a great testing ground for us that whatever we are building is working or not. Third and the most important thing, or one of the important thing comes is we use our internal data, internal Prohance deployment for giving all demos to our customers. So our sales team or our account management team uses our own internal setup for giving these demos because we never use
Data.
customer data because of NDA. And second thing is Prohance is deployed right from the trainee to up to the CEO. Each and everyone has Prohance on their system. So
Okay.
nobody is
Even
spared.
the
The
CEO
data.
have Prohance. That's great to know. I mean, the accountability is right from the top till bottom. We are leading by example.
So if you go to our my other co-founder Kishore or our CEO Ankur, the first thing they will open up their Prohance and they'll show their own data.
Great. So, Rajesh, many aspiring entrepreneurs wait for that perfect idea, the perfect timing, or someone to validate them. And your journey has been something where, uh, you know, it was unlike it. You just took the leap of faith and kept learning, kept moving ahead. So, looking back at your own journey, what would you tell someone who's still waiting to take that first step?
What I want to tell people is that perfect moment, doesn't come. And more so in startups. Startups is all about innovation, new areas, uncertainty. So if you are having something which has got a lot of certainty or very clearly a roadmap of it down the 2 years down the line, then your startup is in a wrong area. Already there must be things done there or large companies must be doing it. So you have to be in an area where things are not that clear and start moving it. And I call it the torchlight effect. So startup is or starting is like the torchlight effect. You are in darkness, you have a torchlight, so you put it on, it just shows you the next two steps. So you take those next two steps and then it starts showing you the next two steps. And that's how you keep on moving it. You'll never know the end journey. And the thing is, without starting, you will never know whether it will succeed or not. Yeah. There's no point in saying after 5 years down the line, I had this idea. If I had done this, by now I would have been here. No point in saying that. Try it out. If it worked, great, because you would be in a different level. And even if it didn't work, I'm sure there would have been hundreds of learnings. We failed multiple times, and our third or fourth product succeeded because we failed in the first, second time. So, my request, and all the founders will echo this. Founders are not somebody who are super confident, know everything. They walk into the room, they know what needs to be done, they say the right thing. I think the founders are or entrepreneurs are people who just start with what they have. Of course, they need some belief, some idea to start with, but you cannot be waiting indefinitely or waiting for somebody to give you that clarity.
So having that action bias, just take action, don't think too much. Otherwise, we get into an analysis paralysis mode, thinking, do this, do that, but never getting into action.
Yeah, I'm a big believer of taking action, and I hate those 2 year, 5 year plans because they never work. Now the changing so fast, you will not know what will happen in the next quarter. With AI thing coming in and the innovations happening, pace of change has increased a lot.
Yeah, I mean, to your point of 2 year, 3 year plan, they don't work because we make them and then we think they are written in stone. It has to continuously keep evolving every quarter. We have to start looking in them. What has changed now? What would I want to change in my long term plan? So, in scaling up, we have a concept of OPSP, one page strategy plan, where it's so simplified that, okay, this year, what are the key goals? Break that year into a quarter. And then from the quarter comes everybody's individuals, KPIs, priorities. And that one page is it's so simplified that everybody in the organization it can be circulated with. It has to be so simple that even the watchman of the company should be able to tell what the strategy is this for this quarter, what are we focusing on.
Yeah, a good way of putting it that if you can make the watchman also understand it. So I'll take it one step further. You won't believe what we did in the initial phase was having weekly targets, and that worked beautifully for us. I would say if somebody says, choose between a 1 year plan or a weekly plan, I would say go for the weekly plan. Of course, it has to be tied to the long thing, but
Yes.
we always made weekly goals.
Yes.
Every Saturday, sit down and say, what are those 2 or 3 things you're going to do in the next week? And if something was spanning across 3 weeks, break it down into what you would do in the next week only. Right? So it gives you a focus of what you want to do immediately. And the other thing is, once you achieve it, gives you a great sense of progress, moving forward, seeing things turn green. Otherwise, long term, you may feel stuck. Oh, with this is not happening, that's not happening. But in the week, when you see those small, small things happening, you feel happy that you're moving forward and you're achieving something within the week. Correct. Progress makes us feel good about things, of course. So, what I was saying, individual KPI is priority, and that's where what you said, weekly track it. What I was supposed to do this week, did I do this or not? So, great to know that you have already been following it in some form in the organization. You are now putting years of your experience into your upcoming book, The Impossible Startup. What's the core message or philosophy you hope every founder takes away from it? See, basically, the intent of writing this book was to give confidence to people that anybody can do it. It's not your background which defines it or what you have done. So, anybody just needs to take that step and start. That's the first thing. Second is never look for the timing, even from your personal point of view. For example, I was in my 40s, my co founder in 30s. We already had some other background and we started. So, it's never too late to start if you have that belief. And third thing which I want to tell is start with something small and see where it goes. Don't try to, like you said, overthink or have those long term plans. Have that idea in your mind and start working on it, taking one step at a time and see can it become much bigger. Initially, you have to have the mindset that the customer should get maybe 5x of 10x on what you are expecting from him. Your due will come over a period of time. Like that, there are a few other things on having the right team. How do you manage your finances wisely? It's not a question of not having enough money. It's a question of using it in the right way. How that leads to a mindset which can lead to longer success. So, like that, there are various points which I've tried to bring out in the book saying, this is what I did, simple things which everybody knows, implemented them, used common sense, and that's how one thing led to another. Consistency and discipline. I think that's the key. Rajesh, we have a rapid fire round with you, a fun impromptu round. Whatever comes first to your mind, just share it with us. So, what's the one app you open first every morning? WhatsApp. A book you have recommended the most? I can't think of any book which I recommend. Rather, I recommend few observations or sayings which have changed my life. So when people ask, I recommend problems are opportunities. That has driven my life. Problems will come in your way, but those are the opportunities. And when you say this thing, helps you look at the problem in a positive manner. Great. One productivity habit you can't live without. Writing down before every day what you're going to do that day helps your mind to understand this is what's there in front of me, and looking at the list, then coloring it in green, yellow, whatever, red, or what's done, not done, that helps you plan the next day. I would say that's been very, very effective for me. Coffee with one entrepreneur, who would it be and why? I think maybe with Elon Musk. If by any chance, because he seems to be very temperamental, very different, not afraid to say or do certain things. Right. I don't think many of the things which he does is right, but still would love to just sit in front of him and see how does he think, how does he work, because
Good
he's
one.
achieved
Good one.
something phenomenal which nobody's been able to do. One quality you look for in every leader. I think honesty is very much required. When I say honesty, it doesn't mean do stealing something, but trying to look at the reality which is there in front of you. If something is not good, say that. One thing people often misunderstand about entrepreneurship. Assuming that entrepreneurs are really smart people, confident, who can speak well, who know what's happening around them.
Complete this sentence. At this stage of your life, success to me is.
Is being really happy at the end of the day and saying, I'm grateful for these three things which happened today, which could be as simple as had a chance to talk to you today, had a great conversation. So thankful to God having brought me to this stage.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rajesh, for being here with us today. It has been a fascinating conversation from the early days of Prohance to building a global company and looking ahead to the future of workforce intelligence. Thank you for sharing not just your successes, but the thinking, the principles behind them. I'm sure our audience will walk away with valuable lessons they can apply to their own entrepreneurship journeys and lots of takeaways for me also personally. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashman, asking so many things which brought out all these memories and making me also think and say certain things which I also didn't know existed. I had to dig deep down to have this great conversation with you. So thank you for this very, very engaging and enlightening conversation which I had.
Thank you, Rajesh.